Okay, hello, bonjour, Pierre. How are you?
Hello, Steve. I'm fine, and you?
Not too bad in the circumstances. I'd rather be flying.
Me too, for sure.
Yes, yes. Okay, well, let's get going. Pierre, you are sales director of Sonaca Aircraft. Is that correct? Okay.
That's correct. Yes.
And so we are going to talk about very many things, but mostly about Sonaca Aircraft. But before we come to Sonaca Aircraft, can I ask you, when did you start working with Sonaca? Because it's a very big corporation. It's not just a small aircraft. And can you tell us a bit about when you started working for Sonaca?
Yes, in fact, I've always been interested by aviation field and engineering. And after my aeronautical engineer studies, I started naturally to work at Sonaca Group, which is one of the main aeronautical companies in Belgium. And I started in 2001 in the technical department for advanced structural calculations, and mainly for the wing resistance to the bird strike, bird impacts. Because the main product we are building, we are designing and built in Sonaca Group is the fixed leading edge and movable leading edge of airliners. And one of the big load is the resistance of the leading edge to burst strike to protect the fuel tank. As I worked in this service for 10 years before starting the development of the new company Sonaca Aircraft.
Okay, well that's very interesting. So bird strikes were your main thing.
It was my main things. Yes, it was very specialized calculations, numerical calculation. Because before that we made a lot of tests with chicken, with a gun and chicken against wings. And it was more easy to make some simulations before assembly the parts.
Yes, yes, yes. So it's a very big jump from studying bird strikes and probably spreadsheets and all those calculations to thinking about building a brand new whole aircraft, given that Sonaca, as you said, mainly dealt with building leading edges and other parts of aircraft. They've never built a whole aircraft. So what, how did you come up with the idea for a whole aircraft?
Yes, in parallel to my engineering studies, I also learned flying aircraft. I'm also a pilot. And because at the very beginning of the story of Sonaca, of last century, 1931, at this time, Sonaca, the name of the company was Ferry Aviation, which was a subsidiary of the English company Ferry, based in Belgium. The goal of this company was to build aircraft, two-seater aircraft for military purpose for Belgian government. And because at the very beginning, we was assembly aircraft, my idea with one of my colleagues was to renew with the past and to rebuild a full aircraft, because today Sonaca is involved with many airliners, but only for sub-assembly, not full aircraft. And the idea came from this.
So that was your idea. But then you had to put it into reality. So how did you persuade your boss? How did you persuade Sonaca Corporation to think it was a good idea?
The main thing was to demonstrate to the management of Sonaca there was a business for an aircraft. Before to design the aircraft, the biggest thing was to demonstrate and to study very well the general aviation market. Yes. And it's why we start during 6 months by meeting people to understand what was the needs and what was the lack on this general aviation field in terms of training.
So there were probably many obstacles to overcome. What was the main obstacle?
Yes, the biggest obstacle I met at my level, it's being able to fix appointments with aviation school director and flight instructors. It was very difficult to convince them that the goal of the meeting was not to sell an aircraft, because we had at this time. 5 years ago, we didn't have any aircraft, but just a meeting to ask the feedbacks, the pain, and the, how can I say, the needs of them in terms of training. And very difficult to have this appointment. And in the UK, if I remember well, you were the first meeting I succeeded.
That's right. Yes. And of course, having these meetings, you do plant the seed of the new aircraft idea into all these clubs. So yes, I understand. So
the goal is very to involve people in the design of the aircraft, and just to not invent the aircraft yourself, but develop the aircraft needed by people.
Yes, I remember it well. I remember your questions well. So then it moved on to you overcame all the obstacles. You started production. So when did you start production?
We started the production during the development of the certification itself in 2016 by the first flight test aircraft. We made the first flight in 2017 with this test aircraft, and we really started the production of the serial aircraft in 2018 with the first delivery end of this year.
Okay.
Of 2018.
That's very quick. That's very good going. Very quick movement.
We took the advantage of knowledge in terms of engineering certification.
Yes, of course.
Of the Sonaca Group. Yes, for sure.
Yes. You have a vast amount of knowledge of weight saving in aluminium and production of various different parts. I understand. Exactly. So your role must have changed through the time. Right at the beginning, your role was to convince people to think it's a good idea. Now, how has your role changed, and what is it now?
Sorry?
How has your role changed, and what is your role now?
Yes, at the very beginning, I was an engineer, a structural engineer, and during the development of a certification, I progressively changed from engineer to sales manager.
Yes.
I'm responsible for sales, but you know, when you sail an aircraft, you need first to be an engineer and also a pilot. You need to know very well your aircraft and to understand how it's built. Thus, it's compatible to sell aircraft and to be also engineers. It's
I
explain to people.
Yes, I absolutely agree with you, because in our correspondence, it's very clear to me that you're an engineer and a pilot. And when I ask you a question, you actually give me a proper answer, which is good.
Thank you.
So the production line has changed over the time. I remember when I first visited you, you were in quite a small hangar at Namur. How did the production line change? Because now you have a much larger production line in a brand new hangar.
Yes, we started with a temporary assembly hall in the airfield in Namur, so from Brussels, with 1 aircraft per month. But we quickly changed to the new production factory on which I am today. It's a brand new factory able to produce up to 70 to 80 aircraft per year. There is 2,000 meters square available for assembly, with a technical department office for engineers. And there is 2 production lines in parallel with different steps for assembly of the aircraft. So we are very comfortable today on producing of aircraft, and we are starting to increase the production rate today.
Yeah, that's very good. That's very impressive. And it's clear that Sonaca Corporation are investing, have a lot of confidence in the product. So, so looking forward, what are your ambitions for the aircraft, the Sonaca 200, and perhaps other aircraft, if you have got any plans? And have you got anything coming up? Any developments coming up?
Yes, we are. First of all, we are focused of the feedbacks, because we delivered our first aircraft in 2018. Thus, we have today 15 aircraft already flying, and we are observing the feedbacks and the technical issue. Hopefully there's not some big issue, but we are very focused on the support to the customer first. For sure, we are continuing to see the evolution in terms of equipment. We just launched this year the new Sonaca 200 NG with new instruments, numerical instrument instead of mechanical horizon and CDI. And we replaced them with a two Garmin GI 275. The next big developments are the development of the flight test campaign for international spin. We developed the Sonaca 200 in the utility category. That in terms of loading, it's able to take 4.4 G. The aircraft is able to do international spin, but we need first to demonstrate the full flight test campaign for this purpose. The second big development we have in mind is the IFR version based on the Sonaca 200 Trainer Pro with a full glass cockpit, because all the instruments are already there to support this IFR certification, but we need to work on the engineering things to certify this aircraft to IFR. But for sure, we are also in parallel study the markets because we will need to evaluate the price of a two-seater IFR against a four-seater IFR to be sure we have a competitive price.
Okay, so there are your developments for the pipeline. Are there any plans for a different model, perhaps a four-seater or retractable undercarriage or anything like that?
Yes, we are thinking about to enlarge the can I say the range of aircraft, and for sure we want to continue to develop it, to not stop to two-seater. But we are progressing step by step, and we are very focused on the market. And first, we will be sure that if we go to the four-seaters, there will be a market, and we also need to analyze the market in this the four-seaters range, because there's also a lot of other competitors. And we need to find where we can bring some innovation in this before starting development.
Well, that's all very good, all very positive. Well, thank you for that, Pierre. And I understand you might have some questions for me.
Yes, the first questions I have in mind. Could you remember me, or you meet me, or was the first link between you and me?
I remember that very well, Pierre. Yes, I received an email from you. Well, it's got to be about 2014, I think, asking me and lots of other clubs what our requirements were for a brand new training aircraft. And I remember sending you a very, very long list of requirements, and I didn't really think I'd hear from you again. But then you contacted me again, maybe a year later, telling me that you had a prototype, which is very fast work. And when I met you in person, you flew the prototype over, you demonstrated it, and if I remember correctly, you couldn't find a hotel, so I put you up in my house, and we had a nice barbecue, which is very nice. And the next time I saw you after that, you had the production model. So yes, we've kind of known each other since the beginning of this process, haven't we?
And how did you persuade Alison to buy two aircraft?
Yes, I didn't need to persuade Alison. When I flew the prototype, I knew immediately it was a good aircraft with nice harmonious controls. Although we did have, there were some changes that you made. I understand you've made something like 80% changes to the prototype model. And having flown the first production model, I didn't need to persuade Alison. She was already persuaded. But I needed to persuade, we needed to discuss how many to buy. Just one aircraft isn't really enough for a training fleet. We couldn't afford three, so a compromise was two. So we bought two aircraft, to replace the 3 Cessna 152s we've got. With the aircraft being brand new and there being longer maintenance intervals, the 2 aircraft will more than make up for the 3 older aircraft we already have.
My last question will be, what were the aspects of the aircraft are you most pleased with? I see a lot of comments from your students on the social media, but what is your feedbacks after some months of flying it?
Okay, well, personally, the thing I'm the most pleased about is, well, having a brand new aircraft is fantastic. It can fly for 100 hours without needing a new door hinge or a new, but that aside, it's very harmonious in the controls in pitch and roll and yaw. It's very harmonious. It's nice and steady aircraft because of its increased maximum all-up weight of 750 kilograms. That's very important when you're teaching somebody to fly from scratch, that they are in an aircraft that is robust and steady. And with the nose wheel steering and the positivity of the controls, it's a very good aircraft to teach students to fly in. And that's the feedback I get back from mostly my instructors, is that they enjoy teaching people to fly in it. And we've also seen that these students learn to fly very quickly and they enjoy learning to fly in this aircraft. It's the cockpit's very roomy. There's lots of room in the cockpit. Everything is easy to reach because we use ergonomics now. And yes, so we've had very, very positive feedback. But my main point that I'm most pleased with is its harmony, how well it flies. It flies very well.
Okay, nice words. Thank you, Steve.
You're very welcome.